We've been really looking forward to the opportunity to spend some time with Peggy Noonan. We had that opportunity. Got a book out, The Time of Our Lives, Collected Writings. Peggy Noonan on the line right now. Peggy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Riley. Good morning, Scott.
How are you this morning?
I'm pretty good. It's very nice here. It's starting to lighten up in New York City.
Outstanding. You know, in going through this book, which I can't read to go through every nook and cranny of it, but I was looking at some of the reviews on it. David McCullough, who's one of my absolute favorites, gives you an absolutely stellar review, not just for this, but basically your entire career.
You know, he did. It just blew me away. It made me so happy. I believe he is America's greatest living historian. And so he was so kind to help me out, and what a lovely man.
Yeah, you know, you got him, you got Henry Kissinger, a devoted reader. That's got to make you feel pretty good.
It did make me feel good, to tell you the truth.
Peggy, this compilation, The Time of Our Lives, the best of your writing through the years, when you've been doing it as long as you have, and I don't mean to say, you know, you know what I mean. When you've been
fair enough. we got 30 years of work here. I mean, it's a lot of work.
When you've been doing it that long, do you find it progressively easier or tougher to write your columns? Meaning, is it easier because you've had the experience, or tougher because you worry you have written what you are about to write previously?
I understand that question. I think it's a great question. My answer will sound strange and eccentric, but it's simply true. It is as hard to write for me now as it was 30 years ago. I do not understand that. I get as nervous on column day. I put it aside an entire day to write the column. I get as nervous on column day now as I did when I wrote my first column for Bob Bartley in the Wall Street Journal in the year 2000. I can't explain that to you, but it's true.
And here's the follow-up to that line of thinking. As human beings, we all do evolve. There are certain feelings and beliefs that we have that we hold fast to, that we don't evolve on, but other things we change on. You ever find yourself changing where you might go back and review something you'd written in 2000 and go, wow, I really don't feel the same way about that anymore?
Absolutely. When I was putting this book together, when I agreed to do it, I started pulling big white cardboard boxes out of the attic and out of the backs of closets and warehouses, opening them up, seeing all of my work, going through what I thought was good, what I thought didn't pass muster, and what I disagreed with, and I'd simply put them in different piles, and it was easy when there was something that just wasn't good, just get rid of it, never consider it for inclusion in the book. I actually, more than disagreement, what I saw was a consistency of themes and interests. At the end of the day, the whole book is all about America. It's about America in the past 100 years, but it's written in the past 30 years. It's about who we are as a people, our culture, our character. I've got a chapter called People I Miss, in which I write about some people I was fortunate to know and be friends with, some people I just watched from afar, who left us, who died. And I found throughout my career I've had a great interest in summing up the lives of people who made a real mark on their times and trying to figure out what we can learn from their lives. And it's people as disparate as Tim Russert, the great journalist, Joan Rivers, the great comedian, Jackie Onassis, who I say, you call her beautiful and elegant, but this woman was one tough little patriot. Tennessee Williams, who his work always touched my head, but his life touched my heart, because this was a man who heroically, when the great force and energy of his talent appeared to have left him, got up every morning and worked, knowing that the end result would probably not be brilliance. And I so respect that. So I see a consistency of themes and interests. Certainly there's a lot about presidential politics. There's a lot about the greatness game, men and women who want to come forward and lead in the West and in the United States.
Peggy Noonan with us. Her new book, The Time of Our Lives. It's Riley and Scott on WROK. You wrote in 2012 about America. Sometimes we think our problems are so big we have to remake ourselves to meet them, but maybe we don't. Maybe we just have to remember who we are. Open, friendly, welcoming, and free. To tie this into current events, when you see what's happening on college campuses, Peggy, Yale, Missouri yesterday, doesn't seem open, friendly, welcoming, and free. It seems closed. It seems angry. It seems controlling. Are you concerned what that means for the future of our culture?
Well, I'm watching and trying to keep up with these stories in Missouri and Yale, and I guess I have a number of thoughts. One is these students seem so enraged and embittered when, if you think about it, they are the luckiest Americans there are. These are young people at great college campuses getting great educations in a great nation. So you might think that's not the biggest thing to be enraged and embittered about, you know? Another thing is, I can remember being 20, and because of that, I believe all 20-year-olds have the right to be idiots. Let's face it. I'm not going to judge them like they're adults, but I'll tell you who I do judge. They are surrounded by administrators who are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, who are people of attainment and experience, who don't seem to know how to protect their schools and calm the situation, and also tell students who are going too far, you have just gone too far. This is over. So I am surprised by the weakness of the adults, not the crazy enragedness of the young.
You've gone too far, pointing out that line, you've gone too far. It seems to me that that's a line that you should have memorized if you were lucky enough to be a parent. Because, you would look at it the same way with your kid. Look, all right, now you've gone too far. But we can't say that to someone else's kids for fear of the backlash.
Well, one thing you can say to these young people at these schools is the implication of all of your efforts seems to go toward limiting freedom of speech, limiting First Amendment rights. When people say things you don't like, you become enraged and try to shut them down. Guys, you're 20 years old. Did anyone ever teach you what the First Amendment is, why it exists, why it is indeed the First Amendment to our great Constitution? The founders didn't put it as number one because it was an afterthought. America is freedom of speech. And so, these sort of left-wing progressive, I don't like what you say, therefore you cannot say it and you will be banished people, I'm afraid they were never taught correctly about what is important. And I think someone's going to have to teach them. They're at Yale University. Maybe they could have a class on what the First Amendment means. I did that in 8th grade, but that's okay. In Yale, 4 years, it's okay.
And a perfect summary right there. This is why you want to grab the book. If you have not read Peggy Noonan, I'm astounded that you haven't, but now's a good time to start. The Time of Our Lives, Collected Writings. Peggy, thanks for taking time out of your morning for us.
Guys, how much fun to talk to you. Please have me back, and thanks a lot.